If I could get approval of our previous meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We have nothing on our old agenda, correct, Sarah?
Correct.
Okay. I'm on paper, it's crazy. Our first is a resolution approving and confirming the reappointment of Donald Christian, Mark Derrick, and Renee Green to the Metropolitan Regional Transit Authority Metro Board of Trustees and declaring an emergency. Oh, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Councilwoman. On behalf of Mayor Horgan, I'm here to ask for the reappointment of these individuals. They have served. We're asking them to continue to serve on this board. Metro's in the middle of doing a reassessment strategic plan, so I think just having the continuity of these individuals to serve would be very beneficial. Don Disler, the CEO of Metro, and the president, again a mayoral appointment, Robert DeJournette, are asking for these reappointments as well, and the mayor's very happy to have these three individuals continue to serve in this capacity.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Councilman Mallett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to speak in favor of all three of these members who have served with distinction. And to Ms. Wilm's point, the Reimagine Metro process that they're undertaking has been really cool to watch, and I wonder whether maybe it might be appropriate to have Metro come in and do a presentation about it for us.
They've already contacted me, so they will be, absolutely. So if I could get a motion for suspension of the rules.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Next is the ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts to eliminate lead material in the water distribution system throughout the city of Akron and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Just to give you a little history, since Mayor Horgan's come in, this has been his initiatives to rid the rest of the city of active services with the lead. So when his administration started, there was about 4,000 in the system. And over the last, since 2016, we have removed about 1,440. So we leveraged, he went down to the state, talked to the state EPA. After that, we received $5 million of this money. We are going to use $2.5 million of our ARPA money. Then I got to give credit to our own staff for applying for this WSRLA program. 2023, we received another $5 million, which brings the total to $12.5 million. Out of the $12.5 million, the 5 from the state's a grant, we don't pay back. The 2.5 obviously is ARPA money that we're using. The $5 million that we received from the loan program, by going all the way into the house. And the EPA recently looked at the lead services, and if you have a galvanized line from the private property or the lawn strip, we call it, into the meter, they feel like that needs to be restored too. So our policy since the 60s was, if the homeowner replaced their galvanized line, probably because of low pressure it broke, we went ahead and did the copper or the lead in the street. That's how we've got to this number out of the 85,000 services. So going back to the 60s. But now they're going to look at, you have to, if you're going to do a lead program, you have to take it all the way to the meter. So this program, we looked at all our services that had lead in the street and galvanized on private property. So in this program, we are looking to remove an additional 20, we are going to remove about 1,200. So out of that 1,200, we're going to do 3 contracts. We're going to bid them separately to try to attract, hopefully, some small contractors to do 3 programs simultaneously to go in the street, replace the lead to the lawn strip, and the lawn strip into the house with replacing that old galvanized line. So, and then we're going to about 200 ourselves. That's what we've been trying to average per year with our own staff. We've been pretty successful. And next year, and with our ARPA money, we're going to do $10 million in water main replacement, which is a huge investment. But as we spoke before, 25% or 300 miles of our water main is 100 years old. So this 10 million is going to put a little bit of a dent in it, but it's still, we need more money in water. But out of that $10 million and replacing all those water mains, we're going to get about another 400. Long story short, by the end of next year, if all these projects are done, we should be right around 1,000 or under. So we're still going to go after more money. We're looking at trying to bundle these 3 programs on streets that have a lot of services. So we are doing all 10 wards. Wards 7, Ward 6, they don't have a lot. I don't think they ever did have a lot, okay? So there's not as many, but in Ward 10, we're doing 211. Ward 2, 255, and those are the older parts of the city. Ward 3, we're doing 126. Ward 5, we're doing 180. So, but we're looking at if that street first, if it has 15 on it, we want to keep that contractor on that street, reduce the mobilization, and also we are looking at the resurfacing program. We've been doing that all along, not to hopefully tear up a street that we just resurfaced, okay? Inevitably, we resurface a street and the water line breaks, and they go, why didn't you fix the water line before? Well, we really didn't know it was going to break.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, we had one on Thanksgiving morning, and we got a crew to come in. It was on the west side of town, and so at least it was a nice day, but our guys and gals came in on Thursday and fixed another water main. So with that, I will take any questions, but this is a big project. We hope to get a lot of our local contractors involved and restore this service all the way into the house.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any questions from committee members? Councilman Lombardo?
Yeah, thank you. So just doing the math, you were right on point that we'd probably have like 1,000 left of water, or of lead services. So does that mean by 2028 or something like that, doing like 200 a year, that will be all
Well, we're
through?
hoping to get more money. I mean, you look at what the infrastructure
sooner.
bill is, there's going to be more money for lead out there. We're going to go after everything we can. Now, there are some, what we call inactives, that are still out there, and those could have been a house that was demoed, and we're not doing those right now. So what we're going to look at it, like when we upgrade a water main, if that is a house that we could, or if that is a lot we could build a house on, then we probably will restore it to the lawn strip. If it is a house that's been demoed and then split between 2 property owners, and now it's unbuildable. So if you had a 50-foot lot and neighbor A took 25 feet and neighbor B took 25 feet, we're not going to build a house there. So when we go to restore it, we're going to take it out at the main and not leave it there. You know, because if you leave it there, inevitably, somebody's going to come along and hit it, you know, and then you got, you know, so just get that out of the system. So if someone builds a house, they will have to upgrade it to copper. We're not going to let somebody build a new house on an existing lot and have a lead service. That's not going to happen. We will not let that happen.
So sooner than 5 years?
Well, that's what we're hoping for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council or committee members? Seeing none?
Madam
I'll
Chair,
bring-
there's-
Oh, Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris, this legislation, you mentioned water main replacement. Is that in this legislation, or is that something in the future?
Something in the future.
Okay, thank you. I'll just ask my question then. Thanks.
Okay. If I could get a motion for suspension of the rules?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We have nothing else coming before us. We are adjourned.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and McKittrick. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I'd like to call the public safety meeting to order, please. All members are present. We do have meeting minutes to approve, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We have one new piece in front of us today, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into contract or contracts with Akron Enterprises for a contract renewal for tasers and taser-related equipment and declaring an emergency. I do see we have our Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, Tucker. I'll call on him first and he can introduce our guests. Thanks.
Good afternoon, and thank you. For this legislation, we have Captain McCosey from Akron Police Department, and I'll defer to him.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This legislation is asking for approval to enter into a 5-year contract renewal with Akron. This is for tasers. This will allow us to make functional 340 new tasers. This is new technology that's going to advance from where we are now. Our current tasers are out of service life. Some of them are in excess of 10 years old. And so this is going to allow us to replace those tasers with newer technology. The contract will also include the training for our train-the-trainer training for our instructors and all the equipment that we need, plus the setup of the new equipment.
Thank you, Captain. I'll go ahead and start. I do have a question. I know back in 2016, I introduced a resolution to make sure every patrol officer had a taser. Are we still complying with that?
Yes, we have 340 tasers that are deployed right now. That includes all of our uniformed officers across patrol, as well as many across the rest of the department, Detective Bureau and whatnot, that also carry them on extra jobs or whatever kind of a uniform detail they might have.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Committee members, any questions or comments? Councilwoman Mosley.
Thank you, Chairman Kamer. Captain McCosey, when you all brought in Axon Enterprises to do the demo with us on the dash cameras, they had the tasers that everything worked simultaneously with one another. Is this the new taser that we're speaking of, that we're going to be voting on?
Are you referring to them turning on the cameras? And yes, they have the switches. This is the most modern technology, so these are even more advanced than what we have now. And yes, when they arm the tasers, then that turns on all the cameras in a set radius. Depends on the settings, but it's everybody in the area, all the cameras, everything lights up.
Oh, this is great news. Thank you. If you don't mind, Councilman Kamer, I'd like to add my name to this, if you don't mind.
Sure. Sure, please.
Thank you.
Councilman Malik, did you? Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who's here presenting on this. Captain McCosey, could you just kind of explain some of the advancements in the technology for the taser over the current unit?
The biggest advances are in the back-end technology itself and how it records all the activity that goes on with the taser itself. But there are significant advances in the actual taser cartridges. This will actually allow us to have 2 cartridges within the device itself, rather than having just one and having the others on our gear or in a holder or whatever. It's right there in the device. It certainly will cut down on the time that it takes to switch things out if they need to.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And then, excuse me, you mentioned training and training the trainers. In terms of the officers who will be using the equipment, what will kind of be the process for training them on the new equipment, and how many hours of training will they get?
Sure. So each year we do an in-service training for all of our officers that carry tasers. It is separate from our normal in-service, separate from any of our normal training. That usually occurs in January, and we are planning on doing that again this year in January. This will allow us to have those instructors ready to go at that time. And when they come in, they'll get the 8 hours of training for the new taser and switch out their old equipment.
Okay, and so that's 8 hours?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then just the third question, in terms of the annual cost, is it different from the current contract?
It is. We did see a significant increase in cost. However, part of that is the fact that we actually own half of our tasers right now, actually own the device. We bought them outright. And then when we renewed that, I want to say in 2016, we actually did a lease, what amounts to a lease, on the others. And so the current $80,000 a year that we normally spend on tasers really only covers about half of them. So now we're going to cover all of those tasers, all in one bill, so it does go up somewhat. We did get a favorable agreement with Akron, so we can push some of that off just a couple of years until we can catch up, so we can plan ahead, because we really did not plan for a quadruple of a bill, so we did push that off just a little bit. So this year, for this year, it's $100,000, and then the next year it's $200,000, and then it moves up to $267,000 for the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
$267,000.
That's really helpful. So all of these are on a more of a lease basis than buying them outright?
That's correct. And so Taser or Axon will provide the tasers, and they will switch them out. If something gets broken, something fails to operate correctly, we can switch those out. They'll take care of those.
Okay, and last question, it's hard to look into the future, but if we're looking towards 2028 at the end of this new contract term, would we anticipate probably having new tasers again at that point?
I would expect so, because that's the way technology moves. I think that we saw that this time around where when we got the X26, which is the one that we're working with now, we expected that 4 or 5, 6 years down the road there would be new technology. And now we're here. So we do want to stay on the front edge of this, not only because it's the front edge and it's the best technology, but also because we don't want to be operating with outdated technology that we can't support.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, and I appreciate all the due diligence that's gone into this from you and from everyone else at APD.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lombardo?
Thank you. Just to be clear, I think you just mentioned this. It's 1.1 for 5 years,
That's correct, sir.
right? So 340 tasers comes out to about $650 a taser, but, you know, not that I know that that's a good price or not, but it's worth it here. And the real question, it says, it's coming from issue 4 money?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is
And it's-
budgeted issue 4 money.
It's
part of
budgeted
our
for
regular
issue 4 money.
project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Mosley again.
Sorry, just a quick question. Captain McCosey, you mentioned that the previous tasers, we bought those straight out. So what do we do with those tasers that we are no longer going to be using? Do we sell them to a smaller?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, we are going to trade all those in with Axon, so we will give credits for those.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay,
They-
thank
They
you.
won't sit on a shelf, and we're not going to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anything else? Anyone else? Councilman Malik?
Motion for consent agenda, is that okay?
We would ask on this one suspension of the rules. We would like to move ahead with the contract as soon as possible.
Okay, you want to get it done by the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay, motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming down and presenting. With that, we are adjourned.
Our next committee of the day will be the Budget and Finance Committee, and that will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and it